Oh, I'm really getting into this now. Oh, you can just drive it on the floor. Oh. The new Aston Martin Vantage starts from £165,000, which is an increase of around £35,000 compared to the old car. But there is a reason for that, and it's this, the 4-litre twin-turbo V8. Yes, that is the same AMG sourced unit that the old Vantage had. However, Mercedes has allowed Aston Martin to do some things to it. And what they've done is fitted bigger turbos, changed the cam profile, freer flowing quad exhaust, and some other bits and pieces, and the result is 665 horsepower, which is 150 more horsepower than the previous car. Also, torque is 800 Newton meters. The result, according to Aston Martin, is 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.4 seconds, or 0 to 62 miles an hour, aka 100 kilometers an hour, in 3.5 seconds. But will the car be able to do that? Well, I'm going to try and find out later on in the video. Let me talk you around the design of the new Aston Martin Vantage. So it's had a completely redesigned front end with a massive Aston style grille, very familiar. We've got this big front splitter as well, carbon fibre. I actually prefer the look of the previous generation car. You know how it had the mouth in the mouth, a bit like the Alien? I quite like that, but most people didn't. More people would prefer this. Now, where you see vents and stuff, they do a job. They're not fake. So these air breathers help smooth airflow over and down the side of the car. These vents here in the bonnet aren't to let air into the engine. You actually get air flowing through the big radiators and then out through there and over the roof of the car. Keep that engine cool. You've also got new matrix LED headlights. Alloy wheels go up to, what size do they go up to?
21s are standard and just 21s.
Just 21s. That's the man from Aston Martin. Now, interestingly, you've got new tyres developed for this car. Michelin Pilot Sport 5S. Moving down the side, Aston has reintroduced the side strake here for the Vantage, and we've got these extended side skirts. One thing I really like, these are proper supercar mirrors. They do look really cool. This car's got the optional carbon fibre roof. I like that. Door handle, it's all right to operate. And I like the way the doors go upwards as you open them. It's a very Aston Martin trait, that is. Moving to the back, notice this car looks really wide. It's about 30 millimeters wider in terms of the body compared to the old Vantage, but actually, because of those wing mirrors don't stick out so far, the actual overall width is the same as before. But look at it from the rear, it definitely looks more muscular. Got this light bar here at the back, little integrated ducktail spoiler, this diffuser here, and combined that gives you 70 kilos of downforce at maximum speed, which is 202 miles an hour. Okay, let's talk about the exhaust. Big problem on the old Vantage was that the exhaust looked really small. Now there's a story behind that. You see, when they designed the car, the exhaust weren't supposed to have this rounded edge. However, for safety regulations, they had to fit that, and it made them look smaller than they would have otherwise looked. However, they made them bigger here, but if I look closely, you'll see they're a bit of a lie, because the real exhaust pipes are in there, and they are slightly smaller than you'd imagine. Anyway, I do like this diffuser. That looks super cool, especially in carbon fibre, which I'm pretty sure is an option. Is it an option, the man from Aston Martin? Yeah, he's nodding his head. You betcha it's an option. Speaking of options, there's so many different colour combinations and options you can fit on this car that it's quite unlikely you'll ever see one exactly the same as yours on the road. Want to sell your car quickly, easily, and for a fair price? Then head to Carwow to have over 4,000 trusted dealers ready to bid on it in an online auction. First, enter your car's registration to get an instant approximate valuation. Then, if you want to proceed, give us some more details and upload some photos, and we'll help you set a fair reserve price for your car. That's the minimum amount you'd be happy to sell it for. Once you've done that, we'll enter your car into an online auction. When the auction's over, we'll let you know the result, and the dealer with the winning bid will be in touch to arrange easy payment and free collection of your car. 93% of sellers surveyed said they got the price they expected or more through Carwow. The best bit is, it's completely free! I put a link in the description of this video and the pinned comment to take you directly to Carwow, where over 4,000 dealers are ready to bid on your car. Or you can just click on the pop-out banner that should be appearing in the top right-hand corner of the screen now. Alternatively, just Google "Help Me Carwow" and we will help you sell your car quickly easily and for a fair price. On with the video. Here on the inside, you see one of the biggest improvements to the Vantage. Completely new interior, way better than before, with those kind of like weird button arrangements and the hand-me-down infotainment system that you got from the old Mercedes. Now Aston has their own infotainment system, so the screen's much better. It's touchscreen, it's dead easy to use. It's a bit laggy at times, so it's not the best on the market, but you have wireless Apple CarPlay, you have wired Android Auto, but you will be able to upgrade it to wireless in the future. They'll do some kind of update on it, and you're just going to use that anyway. But it's much nicer. And I like the fact that you don't have to control everything through the screen. So you've got separate buttons here for your temperature. Oh, that's a real nice button, actually. It's not a button, it's a roller. And then there's your driving buttons here, such as your parking, your cameras, and your suspension, plus your exhaust noise there, which you want to have that on the max. In terms of the seats, I really like these seats. They're not the sportiest seats, they're the standard comfort seats, but they still hold you very well. Steering wheel, a little bit on the overly fat side, could do with being a bit thinner, but it feels nice, and you've got big paddle shifters, so they're easy to reach. One thing that's disappointing is this, and this is a Mercedes. Oh dear, I didn't mean to do that. But that was interesting, the way the look. I like the way those work. Anyhow, it's a bit unfortunate this stalk is very cheap feeling. It's like, that is from a Mercedes, that is. But the rest of the car feels high quality, as you'd expect from an Aston Martin. Really nice feel. Metal door handle. It sounds quite solid as well. You've got a digital driver's display, see if I can just get it on, and depending on which mode you're in, it's different colours. Obviously red for sporty, it's kind of like a blue for individual, and you can scroll through different menus and settings on there. Though I do find these buttons sometimes you can accidentally press them with the heel of your thumb like that when you're driving, if you're being a bit ham-fisted. Now, one thing that's really important on this car is the vanity mirror, because if you have this kind of car, you want to check yourself out, and yes, it feels suitably expensive, especially with these little bits here, and it's big enough to really admire yourself. You've got quite a decent sized rear view mirror. Once again, it's frameless, adds to the feeling of luxury, as do all these little light elements, and the speakers up here for the stereo on this upgraded stereo. In terms of storage, let's have a look. There's not so much under here. You've got your two USB ports there, old school 12 volter, have a look at that. And one thing I like, Aston hasn't cheaped out on their key. Still feels expensive. Compare that to a plasticky Porsche key. I should know, I've got one, and yeah, that feels nicer. Cup holders, let's try some bottles. Yeah, that's okay. Are they in the way a little bit maybe? There's some more room in the door bins, but you're gonna have to lie things down to fit them in. Though of course the door bins are lined with felt for that luxury feel. Let's check out the glove box. It's quite small, but you could definitely fit some gloves in there. So it's not lying about what it is. The boot capacity on this car is 235 litres in this area here, which, to put it into context, is enough for me to sit in. However, if you need more space, you can lower this bit down here, and you can remove this parcel shelf. There is obviously nowhere to store that in the car. But even when you do all that, the boot capacity goes up to 350 litres, which is still about 25% less than the boot capacity of a BMW M8 competition. And you can see my full in-depth video review of that car by clicking on the pop-out banner up there, or following the QR code, which should be appearing on the screen now. Anyway, that brings me on to 5 annoying things about the new Aston Martin Vantage. The side bolsters on the optional carbon fibre seats protrude quite a way to keep you in place when you're going on track. However, you have to be careful when you're getting into the car, because they can go, ooh, right at your chuff. You get quite a lot of reflections from the dash and the windscreen, especially the speaker from the optional Bowers and Wilkins system. And even those normal air vents just over here, they reflect as well. It's a touch annoying. For reasons unbeknown to me, there is no boot release here actually at the boot. You either have to do it on the key, which I've left in the car, which means that I have to then open it the other method, which is by pressing this button on the door here. Here's the button on the door, and now I can open the boot. Why would you not have a button actually on the boot? It just makes so much more sense. Yeah, don't you think? I really don't like the indicator noise. It just doesn't sound premium enough. Listen. There's a little man behind the dash just tapping to get out. Can I get out, please? Due to rules and regulations, this car doesn't sound as good as it could do when you rev it when stationary, because there's a soft limiter around 4,500 RPM, as I'll illustrate now. Go on, rev it up. But you know what, I don't think I can really complain because of those pops and bangs more than made up for it. And that brings on to 5 cool things about the new Aston Martin Vantage. The car has 4 different individual driving modes. So you have wet, but it is wet, and then you have sport, which is your normal driving, then you have sport plus, and then you have track. And the throttle mapping, the suspension settings and all that kind of stuff is altered depending on which mode you're in. But there is also an individual, so you can just mix and match the different parameters exactly how you like them. Plus you can do this. If you press the traction control button, you can turn it off or actually alter the amount of intervention, and it goes from 1, lots of intervention, to setting 9, which is all the way off. The Vantage has its gearbox at the back as a transaxle for the perfect 50-50 weight distribution. However, the 8-speed auto is new so that it can cope with the extra torque of the new engine. Also, you've got a new e-diff, which is even better at putting the power down than before. Plus, the final drive is 5% lower for a little bit more corner exiting traction and performance. As standard, you get an 11-speaker stereo, but you can upgrade to a 15-speaker Bowers & Wilkins system, which has over 1700 watts of power. Also, they've arranged the speakers in such a way that it's perfect for your ear holes. So you have the top-end stuff up there on the dash, the mid-range is here in the doors, and then you've got a big subwoofer in the boot. Aston has done a lot of work to the Vantage's chassis to make it stiffer, because the stiffer it is, the more responsive it'll feel. So through the steering, it's actually increased the stiffness by about 30%. However, here at the rear, thanks to this strut brace between the 2 shock towers, it's increased the stiffness at the back end here by 260%, which loads. The Vantage is fitted with new adaptive dampers from Bilstein, and they actually have a 500% increase in their bandwidth, so the difference between the softest and the hardest setting compared to the adaptive dampers on the previous generation car. Right, I'm going to see what this Vantage is like to drive when you're just pootling about around town. So Aston Martin claims that it gives you thrills even when you're going slowly. So let's find out about that, and let's make sure that it's not frustrating. So I've got it in sport mode, which is the least aggressive setting, apart from wet. It's not wet, so. The dampers are in the softer setting. The throttle map is a bit more relaxed. I've got the exhaust in the louder setting though. So there's always that rumble of the V8, which means that when you're going slowly, you can still tell that you're in an expensive car. I'm gonna try and do a little UE just here. Hopefully I'm not gonna annoy everybody, but let's see what happens. They've reduced the amount of steering lock on the car, so it's a bit more responsive on the steering wheel. Turning circles just over 11 meters. Can't quite make it around there. Let's just, oh good, 360-degree camera as standard. Very useful, because while I've got good visibility out of the door mirrors, and the back window is actually not bad at all. It's quite hard to tell where the front wheels are because you sit very low and the bonnet is long. So yeah, I could jack the seat up, but then it feels less sports car like. I like sitting right in it. In terms of the gearbox, when you're just pootling about, very smooth, very relaxing. The brakes, even though it's got carbon ceramics, they're not overly grabby like they can be on other cars. And there's always the added advantage of, if you go for the carbon ceramics, that you do not have to clean your wheels so much because you don't get as much brake dust. Always worth having just for that alone. Now let's try the suspension, because they're really keen to highlight the improvement in the suspension on this car with the new adaptive dampers. So I'm going to drive over this slightly porous surface here. Where's the potholes? Let's get some potholes in. There we go. It's a bit knobbly, gnarly. Let me through, please. Sorry, yes, don't hate me. Oh yeah, I'm trying to test the potholes here, so I'm driving straight at you. But actually, it's got this lovely like sports car torque feel to it, yet it's in no way, shape or form uncomfortable. I like that. So I do get the sense that you feel like you're in something special when you're driving it around, even when you're going at a normal pace. Let's go for these cobbles just to really put it through its paces. This is a dead end. I'm gonna regret this massively, aren't I? Right. Bad idea, Watson. So now I need to get through this gap, and I've probably got enough room for a bus, but I'm not convinced. Let's get up the cameras. Come on, cameras. So yeah, I'll easily fit through there, but I don't want to get down there because it's going to be a nightmare. Let's just try and turn around here. Ah, found a problem. Looking over your shoulder, massive blind spot. I'm going to try and show you. I literally have no idea what's over there. Right, let's try and go back. I'm so full of regret. Yep. Better not run over the baby. Multi-point turn. At least the steering isn't heavy. Right, that was a mistake. Do you know, I'm going to blooming do it for driving around town. That bonnet is just a little bit too long. I'm going to go for the SUV driving position. Still got enough headroom, got the seat nicely jacked up, and now I can see where the front end is, which is handy getting through this gap. Seems to be moving me a bit more forwards than I want to be. So this is what you're going to do when you're driving around town. You're going to sit up like this, like you're driving like a granny, and then you can judge where the front of the car is, the front wheels. Don't drive into me, matey, but oh, there we go, yeah, go, yeah, sorry. It's not a problem driving this in town. Just a few blind spots. When you get out to some faster roads, this car feels very comfortable. I like the seats quite a lot. I've noticed a bit of wind noise from these door mirrors, a little bit annoying, and you do get quite a bit of noise from those large rear tyres. It's not terrible, but that wind noise is just there constantly, just there, slightly annoying. Now, I'm actually going to put it into drive. Right, let's check out the kick down. So cruising at around 70 kilometers an hour, flooring it. Then it absolutely takes off. With the car in sport mode, the suspension in its softest setting, it does feel a little bit looser. I'm going to whack it into Sport Plus. The surface is quite bad, and while it's not bothering me through the bottom as such, a little bit of shake through the car, getting quite a lot of noise through the suspension. I think it's a little bit less noisy than a Porsche 911 in terms of road noise, but noisier than it in terms of wind noise and noise through the suspension and the body when you're going over rougher surfaces at speed. I do like the feel of it when it goes down the road though. There's just something slightly floaty and enjoyable about it. I often talk about this car breathing with the road, and you do really feel that it does that. Right, I'm going to have a little go on a twisty road now, so I'm going to have it in Sport Plus mode. Seems right for this kind of environment. I'm not going to go crazy because of speed limits, laws and all that kind of stuff. I want to see if I can have fun at respectable speeds, because I'm about to go on track, and that'll give me the opportunity to really push the car. And after all, you may have 660 horsepower, but there's no point if you can't have fun at slower speeds on the road. The steering is so like natural. It doesn't feel edgy like certain cars, like a Ferrari Roma. It just feels a bit more edgy and flighty, a bit more responsive. Porsche 911, if you have rear wheel steer on that, does feel a little bit more inclined to just tip into a corner quicker than this. That's the effect of rear wheel steering. This feels very much like a car that's dominated by its rear axle. It's quite cool, like the sensations you get. Just the way you feel it hooking up and applying traction through that E-diff. It makes it good fun. And you don't absolutely have to be on it to get enjoyment out of this car. That's a good thing. But now I've come to the track. Let's see what it feels like when you give it the full beans. I want some beans. Oh, no, wait, well, I'm not on track yet. Calm down, Matt. This is access road.
A few moments later.
How's this for super cool? I'm about to drive the new Aston Martin Vantage on track, and I'll be following behind the Formula One safety car. Let's go! We're at Monteblanco circuit in Spain near Seville. This would be cool if we were going quicker. What's happened here is we've got a bunch of lifestyle journalists, rather than motoring journalists, on this rotation for the Vantage launch, and so they don't have the seat time that motoring journalists have. They're out on track in a high performance car, and it's a little bit difficult for them. Poor buggers. Be like, oh my god, where's this track going? Oh, I'm in this super powerful car. Can I just be driving it on the road, please? Well, that was slow. That was very slow. I think the guy driving the safety car got a little bit fed up with everyone there. Right, here we go. Yeah, this engine has some serious performance. Nice feel through the brake pedal and a heavy braking. Steering's responsive, very linear, progressive steering, but responsive. Oh, you can just feel the traction control nibbling away. It feels so balanced, this car. The throttle response and the torque that you get when you first press the accelerator is really impressive. I mean, I really like the original Vantage on track. I remember driving it on the launch, but this just seems like way more, I don't know, just pumped up, just more intense. The rear end grip is so good. You can feel it hunting around for traction. I mean, it doesn't feel super precise in the same way that a 911 GT car does. They did a good job. I like this a lot. These brakes are sweet. And the front end, it's not pushy, it's faithful. It's got a like sort of hairy chested, muscly car feel to it in some ways, just because of the punch of that engine. Oh, it likes to rotate. Yes! But the way it hooks up and gets its grip afterwards is really, really progressive and confidence inspiring. Boy, I can still hear this engine roaring, despite all of this insulation around my ear holes. Sometimes when you get on track, cars can feel slower than they actually are. It's just deceiving because you've got so much space, there's no other traffic and so on and so forth. But this one still feels really on it. And the punch that you get from this engine at lower revs, like mid to low range, like coming out of corners, is very, very good. Yeah, you don't seem to overwhelm the tyres too much. So the way it puts its power down is impressive, and I haven't felt the traction control really intervening much. But I reckon it'd be very easy to get this car sliding. Just give it a bit of a bung, get it rotating, and then add some power and it will slide. Oh yeah, and you've got all the torque, so it'll slide for days. What I'm going to do is alter the amount of traction control I've got, so make it a little bit looser. I've understeered there, and it still let me off. Yes! It did a good job, that traction, to give me just enough slip angle without me killing myself. That was nice. I didn't save that though, I think the car did, but it made me think that I had saved it, which is just the way you want it. Let's decrease the amount of intervention a little bit. That was interesting. Certainly popped into oversteer because I just gave it a bit too much throttle. Oh, you can just drive it on the throttle. Oh, he said, and he spun, but he didn't leave the track, so it doesn't count. I ran out of luck. It's quite interesting. I think I might be quicker in a 911 Turbo S, but this is definitely more mobile, feels wilder, and now we're behind the other cars. Right, that was a lot of fun. Now, let's do a 0 to 60 test. Right, I've been told to put the stability control all the way to 1. Let the car figure out what to do. I'm going to go into drive mode, not manual. Left foot on the brake. It's not saying launch control, but it feels like launch control. Is it launch control? .96. Supposed to do it 3.4. Right, let's try again. So apparently I didn't left foot brake hard enough, so it should say race start on the dash. Here we go. Race start, yes. Slow. That just feels weird. Didn't say race start that time, but I wonder if it's going to be quicker. No, that's weird. Is it traction or something? Like the traction control's just killing it a little bit. I think it needs more slip. So Aston Martin aren't very happy with my attempt at a launch on the track. And one of their engineers actually did an 0 to 60, and he says he got a much better time than me. So he's told me to try again here. So let's see what happens. Same settings that I use on track, right? So track mode, traction control in 1 to let it manage the slip. Car in drive, put my window up, left foot on the brake hard. Boost. That felt better. Not much better. 3.79 to 62. Left foot on the brake hard. Floor the throttle. Race start active. That's got to be enough boost. Oh, it's got faster. 3.75 to 62 and 3.6 to 60. Do you know what it is? That felt like it pulled harder in second gear than before. I'm going to try it again. It's 0.2 of a second off. This is my last go. Left on the brake, floor the throttle. Okay, so 0 to 60, it's the same again. 3.6 or 3.7, depending on whether you want 0 to 60 or 0 to 62. So then, what's my final verdict on the new Aston Martin Vantage? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, it definitely feels like much more of a beast than before. And I reckon you should shortlist the Vantage. It is thrilling and it is special, but it does face stiff competition from the Porsche 911 Turbo S and Ferrari Roma. I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you did, give it a like. Click on the video windows for some more videos, and if you click on the CarWow logo, you can sell your car through CarWow the easy way. Thanks for watching.
For the whole video, Matt, you've had mismatched socks.
What? Oh no.